Good afternoon, and welcome to the third debate between the candidates of the 8th Congressional District. My name is Andrew Meyer, and I am the President and Board Chairman for the Missouri S&T chapter of the Associated Students of the University of Missouri. The Associated Students of the University of Missouri is a student organization with chapters on all 4 campuses of the University of Missouri system. Our mission is to educate students, provide information, increase political awareness and participation, and ultimately channel student energy and interest in the governmental process. In the spirit of that mission, we were excited and thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to host this event here on the Missouri S&T campus. For the past few months, we've been working with university officials to coordinate this event. One of the major tasks that we had to complete for this event was soliciting questions for the event. For the past month and a half, we've been soliciting questions from the general public and the Missouri S&T campus. All the questions that you see here this evening come directly from the public. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator for the evening. He is the chair of our political science department, Dr. Larry Gregg.
Thank you, Andrew. Please be seated. Welcome to the Leach Theater of Missouri University of Science and Technology, and the third of 4 debates with the 4 candidates for the Missouri 8th Congressional seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. I first want to thank the Missouri S&T chapter of the Associated Students of the University of Missouri for hosting this debate, and I would emphasize a point just made by Andrew. The officers of ASUM selected all the questions used in this afternoon's debate. I'm now pleased to introduce Independent candidate Mr. Larry Bill, Republican candidate Ms. Ann Emerson, Democratic candidate Mr. Tommy Sowers, and Libertarian candidate Mr. Rick Van Deven. Please join me in welcoming the 4. This debate is being broadcast live on public radio station KMST and is being filmed by Rolla Channel 6 for delayed rebroadcast tonight at 9 p.m. Let me briefly explain the procedures for the debate. Moments ago, the candidates drew numbers to determine the order in which they will make their opening statements and the order in which they will begin to answer the questions, and that order is reflected in the seating arrangement on the stage. In other words, Mr. Sowers will make the first opening statement, then Mr. Van Deven, then Ms. Emerson, and then Mr. Bill. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to make an opening statement. Then each will have 2 minutes to answer the questions I pose to them. While there is no formal rebuttal opportunity, the candidates may use their 2 minutes to respond to another candidate's answers. When we've completed the question and answer portion of the debate, each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. They will present their closing statements in the reverse order of their opening statements. I ask that the audience respect all the candidates and fellow audience members by not responding to any of the answers or comments made by the candidates. I trust that the audience here in Rolla will be as respectful to the candidates as the audiences at Southeast Missouri State University and at Three Rivers Community College were last week. So let us begin with opening remarks, starting with Mr. Sowers.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the university and the students that organized this, and also Dr. Gregg for moderating. And I would like to thank my fellow panelists for joining me here on our third debate. And before we get started, Congresswoman Emerson, thank you for your 14 years of service in D.C. My name's Tommy Sowers, and I'm a veteran running for Congress, and I'm running to bring new blood to D.C. Now, across this big district, and it's bigger than Switzerland, I introduce myself that way. But here, in my home, most of you know me already. And you know me because it is my home. Within 5 miles of where I'm sitting right now, I've spent the majority of my life. I had my first day of school at Harry S. Truman Elementary. I graduated as a Bulldog. I had my first job. And about 200 yards from here, I had my first kiss by the Uptown Theater. And there's also a series of lasts. I had my last class when I was teaching at S&T last year, and I was teaching a group of smart, sharp, highly educated, skilled, and 21st century majors students when I was teaching the Constitution and American politics at S&T. And I asked my class on that last day, how many of you are planning to stay here in Rolla? and not a single one raised their hand. And that's really the issue, is we need to fight for our home. Now, Rolla is a pocket of prosperity. It really is. But this district in the last 14 years has slipped from the 12th to the 10th to the 8th poorest district out of 435. This district is ranked dead last in America for female median income. You can go anywhere else. 1 out of 4 kids lives underneath the poverty line, and while we've got great programs like the backpack programs that the community partnership does, it's unacceptable that we still have that today. And I'm running to renegotiate these trade deals, stop these bailouts, and end these wars. And those are big concepts, but you don't have to look past Rolla to see why. I get off, when I'm driving home, I get off at Highway V. And all you do, if you go right to my house, or you can go left to the industrial park, and you can see Briggs & Stratton, or where it used to be. You can see Cantex closing. And these trade deals that have shipped our jobs overseas, that unfortunately Congresswoman Emerson supports, have not been good for rural America. You drive down Pine Street, and you see the number of closed storefronts. That's where my office is. But you also see the effects of the big Wall Street bailout that Congresswoman Emerson voted for. I bank at Phelps County Bank, a great local community bank, and it is getting punished for the excesses of Wall Street, even though it didn't run hedge funds or do mortgage-backed securities, and we all bailed them out. What we've got here tonight is a choice. We can send one of us to fight all of them. I'm a native. I was born and raised here. The values of faith and family and hard work, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-gun. The values of Southeast Missouri are my values. I'm a veteran. I was stationed at Fort Leonard Wood twice. I did 11 years active duty in the Army as a Ranger and a Green Beret. And while we've got our lowest number of veterans in Congress since World War II, I could lead as the only Green Beret in Congress. I'd use that status to end these wars, bring our troops home, and start investing again here in America. And I'm a fighter and a leader. I fight hard. And boy, we've got a fight on our hand. I'm fighting simply for my home. I'm fighting to make sure that we end these wars, stop these bailouts, and bring our jobs back home. Now tonight, from Congresswoman Emerson, if this debate is like the other ones, you're going to hear a lot about other politicians. You're going to hear about Nancy Pelosi. You're going to hear a lot of blame thrown. But here's the fact. All incumbents are to blame. Congresswoman Emerson has been in office for 14 years. She cannot blame away the rising debt, the jobs that have left overseas. When I was in the military, I learned that you're accountable for everything that you do and everything that you fail to do. Tonight, we have a choice. We can keep sending the same folks back to D.C. and we can get the exact same results, or we can vote for a native, a veteran, a fighter, a teacher, and someone from here to fight for our home. And I would be honored if you would join me in this fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sowers. Mr. Van Deven.
Good afternoon. I am honored to be here today. My name is Rick Van Deven. I am a husband, father, laborer, and musician. I am also proud to be the Libertarian Party candidate for U.S. Congress from the 8th Missouri Congressional District. I would like to thank Missouri S&T for hosting this event and inviting me to participate. I also want to thank tonight's panelists, moderators, and the audience for attending. 2 years ago about this time, I found myself watching the TARP debates on C-SPAN. I was amazed, but not surprised, at the efficiency in which the bailout of the financial industry moved through Congress. TARP reinforced what most of us already knew. The left and the right wings of the big government party will always ignore our liberty in order to appease their moneyed interest. The time had arrived for me to stand up, engage myself in the political process, and put ideas into action. The words liberty and freedom get thrown around a lot with recurring frequency these days. What is liberty? What does a free society look like? Freedom is the positive consequence of liberty. Liberty is the self-acknowledgement that you own your own life, that your life is subordinate to none, and that no life is subordinate to you. This country's $13.5 trillion public debt is the negative result of the politicians' disregard for liberty. Perpetual war, unsound currency, social welfare programs, and a mercantilist economic system in which profit is privatized and losses are socialized would not be possible in a free society. The public debt will eventually have to be paid. The rulers have not shown any interest in reducing spending. Instead, they participate in a dangerous game of kick the can through borrowing, inflation, and taxation. I propose ending the $13.5 trillion public debt by ending the invasions and occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan, closing the over 700 U.S. military bases that are located in 130 foreign countries around the globe, returning our troops home, and giving every citizen of this country a direct refund of our unnecessary, aggressive, and interventionist foreign policy. Prosperity through peace, optimism through liberty. These are the standards that can help us achieve freedom. All we have to do is embrace the idea that we are truly liberated. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Van Deven. Ms. Emerson.
Thank you all so very much here at the university and the students in ASIM for hosting this event tonight. I'm thrilled to be back in Rolla. It's really such a special place. And I think my Democratic opponent is so very lucky to have grown up and gone to school here in a community that is as wonderful as it is. It is a real positive environment, I believe, for our students in their formative years. I love this area. And you know, I love it even more because when I grew up in a suburban environment, when I moved to Missouri over 30 years ago, I found that neighbor was helping neighbor, that communities stuck together. And it's why I feel so at home here in Rolla, because it's the spirit, it's the community. It's some of the positive things I think we've worked on together. We've worked on eradicating methamphetamines in the Mark Twain National Forest, drugs that hurt our children and our families. We've worked together on upgrading Highway 63 so that our workers and our families are safer as they drive on it every single day. We have produced some of the most cutting-edge energy and military technology anywhere in the world, right here in Rolla. And I think that people who live on the East Coast and the West Coast would be really surprised and not expecting here in the middle of the country that we would have companies like Brewer Science, a leader in semiconductors and microelectronics, or MoSci Corporation that's a leader in precision glass technology right here in Missouri, because they don't understand the values of small-town America. Because I'll tell you all, it is under threat now, and it's under siege by a liberal Congress that simply doesn't get it and is not on our side. Healthcare. 160 new commissions, bureaus, bureaucracies. They voted for a bill they hadn't even read. And my Democratic opponent, I must have to say, came out in favor of the bill early on, said it would be good for the 8th District and he would have voted for it. But it does. Does it raise $500 billion in taxes? It does. Does it cut Medicare by $500 billion? It does. Does it force businesses to have to pay taxes much more? Anytime they want to hire maybe more than 50 employees, they're going to have to pay higher taxes and make some very tough decisions. Had these folks read the bill? No, they hadn't read it. And they didn't anticipate how unpopular this law would be, because big government bureaucrats don't understand what's very, very obvious to us. Big government doesn't play fair. We felt that up close and personal here in Rolla when 140 USGS jobs were going to be forced to shut down because of big bureaucrats who simply didn't like Rolla.